Let's get this to show good. There. Alright, there we go. Alright, that's good. That's good. Pull this up, and then click on this, and... Alright, hello everyone, my name is Caden, and welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we completed the third case, and the last thing we saw was a cutscene where the omnibus was on fire and someone was inside of it. So yeah. Well, not really much we can do about that now. So let's go ahead and continue on with case number 4, or episode 4, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. Investigation part 1. Let's do it. Let's see it.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
19th February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. Let's see what court record holds. Armband inherited, that's the same. People. Susato. That's it. Okay. It's the same. Sort of.
Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo?
No, not at all.
It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms are so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. With all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night.
What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Buria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. Spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other.
Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the room, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare.
Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking.
In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we presented with the bill.
Ugh, really am sorry.
Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less.
London is a scary place.
Ah, good morning to you at this early hour.
Is it him? Yep. Hi. Oh, yes. Well.
Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday.
Susasan is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of an imposing Lord Strongheart.
Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices.
Oh, yes. It was very eye-opening. Thank you.
And, in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end.
Yes, I've already been apprised of the events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed.
Oh.
No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land.
Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now.
Now, in review of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem.
Another case? Alright.
Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I?
It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it.
What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established in this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment.
Well, Lord Van Six, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilda really was innocent. Mr. Naruto, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended.
Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer.
Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart?
Magnus McGilda passed away, immediately following the trial.
Yeah, I figured. That was him in the omnibus then, when it was up in flames. No! What? Mr. McGilda's dead? That bird.
I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk.
Very well. Well, you're gonna have to wait and extend your time, sir, because I want to inspect again. This must be Lord Chief's desk, made of marble, over top tombstone. Let's see if anything new. Made of wood, brick and stone, that's the same. Overbearing. Is this some kind of clock? Actually, I think all of this is just gonna be the same. Alright. I think it's just all gonna be the same. Look at this! Lord Strongheart, may I show you this? It's the same thing. Alright, let's talk. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead?
After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom.
Yeah, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGill had been accused of.
Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames.
No. How could such a thing have happened?
This is being investigated as we speak, but already, the police have identified a corpse found inside the charge-sill of the carriage as that of McGilded.
That's awful.
The man must have slipped inside once the bailiff's attention was elsewhere.
That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. Yeah? How could that have happened?
That is also being investigated as we speak.
Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGill did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus.
Yeah. Why would he even need to go back, though?
Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection.
Sorry? What inspection?
They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself.
An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage.
But then who was Mr. McGill talking about?
Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police.
Poor Mr. McGill did.
Well,
So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court?
oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was, wow.
Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old.
Wow, Susawa-san has such a way with words.
And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones.
The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all that you can.
Most advanced in the world, is it?
I was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair.
Simple? That was simple?
As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial that you couldn't lose.
I don't mean to be contrary, my Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple.
The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny?
No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I have mentioned before.
What's going on? What was he going to say before? New case.
Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned?
Don't tell me. It's a murder. And the trial starts in 10 minutes.
Don't worry. It's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different.
Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind?
That is to say, no one has died. As yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise.
So the trial's tomorrow then.
Is everything alright?
Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo.
I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilld's trial.
Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There's one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there's currently no one to advocate for the defense.
Oh,
If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome.
The most terrible end awaits the defendant.
Yes, that's right.
here we go again.
Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits.
Last time you mentioned the 23 hours, you said there was plenty of time.
And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Sogi. I'd be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds.
Oh, well, Cosmo used to always say that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work that towards myself. And there's another thing.
Oh,
Another thing? Continue.
On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me.
There's something very important I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be?
He never had the chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain.
You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Sogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you to both focus on your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to appraise you of the details.
How long has he been there?
Good question. So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell.
Hello there.
There's something very important that I have to do? Kazuma-sama, what did you mean?
I wish I knew. But honestly, you never told me. Anyway, you better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
Hi there. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Hi there.
Yummy.
Could we trouble you?
What do you think?
Lovely weather, isn't it?
What's this weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English jinky out of your hand, you know.
But Susato-san told me it was foolproof.
I'm a busy man, and I'm very busy, man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you who I'm talking to.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry.
Can you imagine what the old officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the big wigs these days. It's all because of Bumpkin, who's here on the job from a country I've never even heard of. You know what, Rippersound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters.
There's no need to rip us apart as well.
I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Rinosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer.
Eh?
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, so...
Eh?
It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
He's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London's winds don't see a lot of sunshine, of course.
Unbelievable. How did she pull that off?
So, Lord Strongart's asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson?
What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her?
Inspector, are you perhaps... the Inspector Gregson?
No. Hold on a second. Alright, apologies. Had to do some. Had to talk to someone. I hope that was muted, but it should have been. Didn't display it. Whatever. What is?
You're acting like like you know this man, Mr. Sato.
Or, you're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective.
Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact.
Very well.
Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rants Magazine?
That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoys a wonderful, friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible.
Well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his very own words.
That's his highest praise?
Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
No, he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit, that's to start with, I was a little flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors?
Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in the stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper, so I can't exactly catch what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. I'm sure as eggs is eggs.
I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work.
Oh dear. Perhaps Sunrise fame does change people.
So, about the case that Lord Chief Justice just mentioned before.
Nothing to tell, really. As far as I'm concerned, at the yard, it couldn't be much simpler.
Oh dear. That probably means, as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right.
A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briarwood Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack a poor woman from behind?
I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susano takedown, would you?
That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now.
Anyway, after some of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest.
So there must have been something left at the scene to lead you directly to the culprit?
Perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question.
Let me tell you right there, you're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baron von Zeeks.
No.
Sounds like you've heard of him then.
Oh yes, we're very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself.
Reaper of the Bailey. Reaper of the Bailey. Let's hear more. Lord Beric von Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday.
Mr. McGillia told us about him before the trial, didn't he?
When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates is found guilty. Is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should warn you, Inspector. That in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
And what's of it?
Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, don't you?
What do you mean?
What happened to that bloke in the inn, eh? He's dead. Max McGildy became a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how he goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
I'd eat. Dum-dum. Right, well, I filled you in as requested. And I'm filling you out trips. And the stream's dying, so...
Let me pull that up. Let me swap. Come on, stream, don't die. Don't die. Don't die. Don't die. Oh, it died.
What's happening?
The stream. How do I fix this? There's not really an easy way for me to oh, there it goes. There's not really an easy way for me to I want to say it, but then it keeps going to 0 bitrate, and then it probably implies it. Why is it this always happens at least once a stream?
Well... What is happening?
Oh, for the lover.
Alright then. I'm just gonna continue staring here.
What do you... Oh, it's a, well, like, book thing. I have to wait for the stream quality to get fixed, because... and it's 0. Nope. Went back to 6,000, 3,000... times 4... divided by 12... 900, 700... times 2... times 6... Ay.
Yeah.
Well, this is annoying, as could be. I don't really have a way of fixing this either, other than just waiting it out, because it usually gets fixed after just a while. But it's just annoying, man. Just annoying to have to deal with every single time. Come on.
So how about getting back to the crime scene now? We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It's Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place.
That's correct, man. And if you head over there to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself.
You've branded him a criminal already.
He's a good ass. Drinking like a leaf in his sail, yes. And he'll give you a chuckle and nothing else. He's in Inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53. Thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say.
Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too.
But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaken like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So,
If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. I'm also upset by the fact that the stream quality, it just went to 0. Is not excellent, don't lie to me. It is very much not excellent, eh? It's about to become unstable in 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry about this. Come on. Come on. Come on. And it's dead. And it's alive. This is absurd. Why is this happening? Again, I'm sorry about this. This is getting on my nerves. Come on. It usually doesn't take this long for it to fix itself, though. This is the first time it's taken this long. So what's going on? Is there something else that I can maybe change? Oy, oy, oy. I'm trying to look around here. Maybe, I don't know, refresh this. Pull this up. Ay, ay, ay. And now we have 10,000. Welcome to Kaden's Guff Stream. It's dead. What is happening? 700, 2,000, 3,000, 2,000, 600, 200, and 1,000. 4,000. Too high. It's climbing too high. Why is it getting higher? It's triple the amount. No, it's double the amount. Why? I can't do math. Why can't I not do math? Ay, ay, ay. Wait. It went to green. Wait. What? It might work. It might fixed. Might have. We're gonna go with a potential maybe. Alright, we're gonna go with that. Because it's the most consistent it is, and let's get as much as I can do out of it. If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm not really sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try. So, I think I'm gonna make some inquiries. Will you help me?
did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant.
Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes. Let's go.
Well, and the stream's dying again. Cool. Well, well, let's go to prison first. Let's see what we can do here. Hello there. Quite interesting prison, I must say. So, these are British prison cells.
Oh, they're ghastly. Feels just like a dungeon.
Yeah, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls.
Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse.
Apparently, our client is in this cell here. It's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. MF53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding it back in the cell and show your face it out. Am I a cat, as yet with no name? Calling me by a number, it's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. I refuse to answer.
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here?
I have no idea. But I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of compliments was in Japanese. Hello? Hi. Hi. Excuse me, but... Shh, quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now. I can sense it. Right, so, could I ask you who exactly... There you are! You can't curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. A ghost?
We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you... Japanese, by any chance?
This is beyond my wildest dreams. Hi there. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was the most monumentally moving moment. You good? Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Shanghai assigned us to would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon. First-class lawyer? Oh dear. I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here.
I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example?
Yes, I can. I will. Stay silent. Are you good?
I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy.
Yeah, he does. So he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm a lawyer, as he said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
And I'm Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba.
I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably notorious and named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Hello, Mr. Natsume. Look at this. Yes, the symbol of one of our great empire's first-rate lawyers. Which means, of course, you'll stand by my side. You'll defend me. Oh, no, sorry. That wasn't why I was showing it to you. And why else would you show that to me? Oops. In hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. Fair enough. Converse. So, Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Son? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias?
That's right, Naruhodo-san.
No. Don't be so prosaic. I am much more refined than that. In haiku? That really reminds me of home.
Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government?
Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this is beyond the pale. Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it? No.
What do you mean?
If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on whitewashy.
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh, yes. So I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. The accusation.
Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder.
Murder?
Oh, no. No, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes.
Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear. Seems this case is becoming rather complicated.
Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse. The curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient.
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker.
It's fine that we find out more about the case.
Alright, let's hear more about it. It wasn't a cursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my cursed lodgings.
Sure the bookshop wasn't a curse, too?
As I was walking along that cursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, just as I went to overtake her. She suddenly let out a little scream, and collapsed to the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet.
How terrible.
I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard.
Slight exaggeration there, perhaps.
I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my cursed lodgings.
That's not good.
They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous. You think I know of any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people.
I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you?
Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul.
No one? Oh, great.
So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it?
What conundrum? What are you talking about, Susato? What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum?
Well, if what Soseki-san is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else there at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen.
I did.
But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit.
What did you just say?
Nothing. I
I didn't say anything. Oops. Perhaps I thought that a little too loudly.
Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested?
Sorry?
He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place?
Oh yeah, she's right.
It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck.
A cursed great detective. Could it be...
I should never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his hearty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed busybody be gone. May you be cursed to the end of your days. Herlock Sholmes.
I knew it!
Mr. Sholmes!
Hairlock. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure.
It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on... It was the morning after that nightmare that folded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "It's the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils!
You clearly had a trying morning yesterday.
And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes.
It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English.
I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really very well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm a night-wheeling madman. Me, the sweet, stupid kin of a man.
I wonder what great deduction process led him to this conclusion this time.
Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable.
Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in.
Of course you were. That's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English.
In fiendish foreign flim-flammery.
Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English.
Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here.
Oh dear. I'm afraid that's hardly surprising.
I'm fine. He's not fine now. I am not fine.
Mr. No-Ho, Squire.
Oh, you can just call me Naruto. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough.
Oh, yes, alright, yes. They've really got me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you?
Well,
Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me?
well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour.
A student?
I have defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means.
Oh, Naruhodo-san.
I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose.
But that old man, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from a great empire.
It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend.
Keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me.
Oh, what do you mean?
The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me.
Goodness, why do you say that?
For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit.
It must be very hard for you, Suseki-san.
And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And of course, the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway.
That's awful.
They're wrong! I've studied more English than half the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They'll hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who would at least listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through.
Suseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being.
What do you mean?
We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. I gotta get comfortable. Ow.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Squire.
We should be going then, Mr. Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for.
And a squeaky chair that needs to get changed. I should have examined it if I could. Woad. I meant to say road, not woad. Schnoman. So this is where it happened. Briar Road.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak.
That is their job, you know.
But Mr. Naruhodo's seen one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet.
What? The helmet?
Of course. I have to try one on these one day.
Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Oi!
What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gregson.
This one isn't on the tourist trail as far as I'm fairly sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
So you've been to the holding cells, eh? And what do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal as you heard, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It don't bother me. Your notes in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
Ugh, the stone cold air of rejection.
Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air.
That makes it worse somehow.
Oh my...
Alright, what all can we examine here? You!
Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and car away criminals.
You're very well informed, aren't you?
It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London.
Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows, then.
But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone.
Hi, STT, how's it going? No, I wasn't serious. Don't throw stones.
What a delightful snowman.
I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy, though.
Oh, it has a scarf. Look!
You need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one.
I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf.
Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss this. His.
The person who made the snowman certainly would.
Yes, I know. You're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Snow hat. Snow scarf. It's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander close, we'll be clapped in irons.
I think perhaps you're being a little cautious.
Trying to rob Frosty. Frosty don't need it.
We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern.
Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on.
Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it was that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. Does you no favors at all.
Ugh. Let's see. Anything else? Oh. What's this? This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred.
Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it?
That's true. I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding.
Boy, what are you foreigners doing here?
We just investigating the scene, officer.
Conspiring with that mustache fella from Japan, are you?
Conspiring?
Got me to destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you an hiding. Go on.
Jeez, a Pete's.
He shoot us away like rats.
Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think.
What a disappointing experience.
Capital of the world, it feels like all they want to do is just be on their own.
That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history.
Weekends over Bobby. Eh. Well, time certainly has taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here.
We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible.
Yeah, you're right. Cheap, but ideally with reasonably level floors. Oh, look at the windows of that building over there.
Are you sure they're windows?
Yeah, but they're all filled in with bricks.
Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment.
There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though.
Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place.
What about the bike?
Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although, the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't be ridden anymore.
Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling.
It seems bicycle has become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dresses to allow them to ride as well.
The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that.
Goodness, do you dislike bicycles?
No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you ever tried walking on stilts and fall into a river, I know you'd agree with me.
We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around.
Naruto has interesting experiences, I assume. The clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? And with the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy.
Well, it is known as foggy London town.
I can just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though.
Aha! Yes! That must be the Crystal Tower, being built for the Great Exhibition that's open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides, and a symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition.
It's to be the largest exposition in history, is it? I can't even begin to imagine it. Oh, I can actually see down the street. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks.
It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow.
I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead.
Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed all in black. Our weary coachman might not see you, and you could be flattened by horses.
Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Alright. Gregson. What's up? Scotland Yard.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I've been fascinated by his place.
Yard. It's the most sophisticated police organization you'll find anywhere in the world, man.
Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet.
It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You can certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city.
Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? He goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so he can get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep, raps on the windows with the long pole. Did it myself going a bit back.
I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town, and it's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day, and that's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama.
On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far.
And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of light and all the gas street lights.
1890s, bicycles became increasingly affordable with the growth, but cheap American miles. That's interesting. I don't really ride a bike usually. Oh, for the vast majority of those who know. Oh, really? A bike was kind of like the first means of like transportation for most people when it came out, or like just an easy, affordable one, I guess. That's interesting. Very interesting. Around the 1890s, I mean, it probably sounds about right.
When it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lights.
Oh my.
And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well?
And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men killing over from time to time, I admit.
Ugh. Wouldn't you think to have like multiple then, like patrols for one area, so that one can take a break and one is working, and then you get, well, there.
I always dreamt that wearing one of those helmets, as I said.
Never learned to ride, and parents bought a bike but never bothered to teach. I remember riding a bike a long time ago, and I made a giant scab on my... I got a huge, like, scab on my knee as a result. I did something stupid on it. Like, I just kept going in smaller and smaller circles until eventually I just kind of caught the bike under my knee. But, yeah, that was a long time ago, though. I don't even know when that would have been.
It's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Alright, what about the case?
It happened around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind.
Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means we won't be able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's your policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still.
Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept.
The local map has been entered in the court record. Let me take a look at this. So, I assume wait, I didn't even read it. A street map of the local area showing where the victim was found. So Briar Road. This is where the victim was. I do like this magnifying thing. There's Briar Road, Meerschaum Road Street, and Calabash Road. Alright.
Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Natsumi is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but...
But just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean that we can be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry I have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
What? So there's a witness.
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. It was typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them.
There were witnesses now? Let me hear about the trial first.
That's to which a Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
Makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole.
Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean?
There's no way to save the man now. There's a waste of time trying.
Very reliable.
It's all a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper, he hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bars with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones.
Master criminals?
The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsumi wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but he didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there.
So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into,
for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it? Actually, is Barrick actually in here? Nope, not that. I meant to hit people. Nope, he's not in there. Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens of all London. He's a copper from the Scotland Yard.
A policeman? That might change things.
And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, man. Bar the parcel of being a bobby. Catching them banging the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow.
Oh.
I've no doubt you'll be summoned as a witness. So, that'll give you something to look forward to.
That's that, then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems.
A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult.
Thank you, Susato. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I would have warned me of that too. Oh, yeah, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspects, I hear that it was Herlock Sholmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Mr. Sholmes?
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings.
I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle! That man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of crime, wanders around, found some incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yeah, he's quite astounding, isn't he?
He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gobble. Ever seen this before?
Oh, yeah, that's Rance Magazine.
A wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees it fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detectives makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any of Herlock Sholmes' tales at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only be frumped by the public that thanks to an obnoxious detective. That man's as dangerous to us at the Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
Clearly the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Susato?
Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yeah, what is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
By him, who do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsumi did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an uninvolved party in the case. Are you just gonna ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
Why they name him Herlock Sholmes? Is long in the public domain. I thought I heard something about how they had trouble with getting the name in the game. I think like in the Japanese version of the game, I think that it is actually Herlock Sholmes, but... Or maybe it's not, I'm not sure. I thought I just heard something about how like it's the only way they could do it or something. I'm not sure. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even, so...
It's Baker Street.
How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Sasan gets any more excited and unpredictable.
I'll summon a carriage.
So we're to have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. See you later, Inspector. New location added. Sholmes Suite, can we visit? Yes, we can. Oh, cutscene. Baker Street. Onbroker. Oh, yeah, another omnibus.
Good day. Thanks again.
I love that I'm still allowed to have this sword.
This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Alright, Herlock. Whoa, what the... There's a lot happening in here. Sholmes Suite. There's a lot happening in here. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Well, hi there. Is it as described in the stories, Mrs. Sato? Susato-san.
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. Always a clutterbug, yeah. I've never read the story, so it's quite hard to get as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So if you don't mind,
Okay.
I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me.
She's obsessed. Where is Mr. Sholmes? Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? How did we get in here? Hold on. Does Sholmes... Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Sholmes just has the door open at all times. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Oh, do we have a visitor? Oh, it's you again. Hi there.
Hello. Is it the big news? Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes?
Oh, hello. Do you still have your, rocket launcher? Wait. Aren't you...
Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
Wait. I'm sure it's the same girl. Mr. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case.
The King of Bohemia?
King William and Gostrit.
See... Holy crap, that's a name.
Of course.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment, and look over there. There's a child.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you.
I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too.
There you are. And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilder's trial in the defense antechamber.
I've never been a lawyer from the Far East before. What were you having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London?
Oh, yeah. How do you know that? It was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color?
Oh my! What a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. You must have an articulate trial tomorrow.
How do you know everything?
Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots of luck.
You know too much.
Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, Shirley.
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on air again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Does she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me. I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley.
Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait. This can't be.
Did
Did you say your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Sasan? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's right. And what are your names?
Where's Wilson, though? Wait. Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Susie?
And Bruno? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
How about we start with talking? Iris. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey.
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though, at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Put the rocket launcher down!
Like this? Thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Guinea? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naive of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
You scare me. This girl's dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Guinea back after the drop after that. So she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley?
Is Hurley just a test subject for you?
Yes, Hurlock Sholmes. We live together.
I had no idea the great detective had such a interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I?
Fair enough.
Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner. A roommate.
You're roommates. Okay, get comfy.
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you?
Oh boy. Hold on. Get that out of there.
10 out last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh, no. They're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Wilson.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, and... Oh, you have a copy of Rand's magazine. Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he always tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It'd be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author. Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm gonna call this latest adventure the Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the story, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Shum's first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... It is a story. Some poetic license is just fine to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say... Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rance Magazine... all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter.
Iris says cost for legal liability. Either A, the law at this point doesn't exist, though I get the feeling that is far from the truth, but more importantly, she's a 10-year-old and she does not care.
But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
Susasan's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I'm a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old.
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But... Dr. Wilson is the English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly, for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds like a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes.
Poor Susasan. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. So what about your deductions just now? About 4.
Yes. What's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we'd just arrived in London, I mean?
Yes. Oh! And that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How'd you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin.
Oh, you're gonna do this whole Sholmes thing.
Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular.
This is her version of it. Ah!
First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh.
So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. They used those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you were wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I conclude that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that the trial was tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been...
Mr. Natsume. Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it's clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. So I put 2 and 2 together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion to the facts those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case.
How are you better at this than Sholmes is?
There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there was to... Oh, wait, really? Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions.
How are you better at this than Sholmes? For Sholmes, we have to help him to fix up his mistakes, so... How?
Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You even managed to discern something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery.
Oh well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. Well, you will, won't you, Iris? Please.
So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Ah, your great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man.
Respect for her and all, but does she got some form of schooling tomorrow? At the rate that this is going, I don't know if she's already surpassed her education somehow. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all.
Hurley used a great detective powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police. And what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great deductions certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
So, does that mean the incident occurred only 2 days ago? That means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
Scotland Yard's doing his bets, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person.
That's not okay.
That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Well, I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving
Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you can probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yeah. Yeah, we know Inspector Gregson.
Goody! In that case, give Gregsy this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece, and a postcard, it seems.
A bribery! Bribery from a child! It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Oh.
It reads, trust the gentleman in black whatever he wants. He wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Gosh, that won't make the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Bribery from a child.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruto is back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Part 1 of investigation, I guess, is done. Getting... Alrighty. Investigation part 2. Briar Road. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation.
Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. What's up? I already talked to you about everything. Hey, wanna look at this? Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment?
Oh, I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to be talking to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure.
We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson.
What? For me? From her ladyship?
Her ladyship?
Give that here. At once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me.
Don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly?
It's a silver crown, obviously. But it's a lot more than that. It's an appearance fee. That's what it is.
An appearance fee? Oh, I see, you mean...
That's right. For the adventures of her luck shows. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time.
Yes, of course. I know about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly.
Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still.
I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you.
Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then?
Sorry?
Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Say it. Well, obviously, it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
Ah, the little knife-wielding and mustache Japanese fellow. He lives in the right old hovel. He's just over there. Look,
Oh, red building.
on the first floor of that house on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up.
That's nearby indeed.
If I remember rightly, the landlord is Mr. John Garrett. Right, well, if you see her again, make sure you give her ladyship my regards, yeah? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends her very best wishes.
Don't worry, Inspector, we will.
Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship.
Seems that she has a lot of influence for being a tiny child.
Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left.
Yeah, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings?
Definitely.
Alrighty. Mr. Natsume's lodgings. That's not Mr. Natsume's lodgings, I don't think. Was it? Wait, this is. Hi. May I help you? Ah, yes, this would be the residence of Mr. John Garrett. It said Mr. Nut... What's there? Indeed, it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Rinosuke Naruhodo. I am...
Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here?
You got happy.
We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client.
Why'd you get... One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garrett. Did you see that, Mr. Sato? That's a real-life English maid.
I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. That was the first time I've ever seen one in flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better.
It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it?
We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete.
Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garrett, we'll see you now. This way. The moon! The moon man! What happened back here?
Look at that enormous screen. Must have been put there deliberately, surely.
Yeah, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder?
I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a little peek.
Maybe let's not, Mrs. Sato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. It looks like it's burned. Weird. That portrait of Mr. Garrett is glaring at me, I swear.
Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrett as well?
Yeah, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well.
Oh, yes. Seem to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket.
Seem to come back? What do you mean?
The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. And boy, that fact, I think about it. I rather often find myself leaving the place for something I don't need.
The lion ornament certainly does seem to surplus to requirements.
So Sato-san doesn't pull her punches. Or her throws, for that matter. You got a medal.
That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner.
Yeah, it's displayed with some pride, I would say. Although it bothers me that it's not straight.
What? That old thing?
Sorry?
I should be glad to see the back of it. But the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall is the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way.
Full moon and crescent moon. Actually, it looks more like the sun and the moon. Maybe that's the point here. Makes sense. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose?
There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation.
Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for.
Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. I can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles.
Nice outfit. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it?
It's clearly been well looked after, though.
That old thing? Not much better than rags, really.
Oh?
Well, that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past. Me would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Odd piece or everything? You have a cannon, sir.
Oh, I see.
Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. You have mortar shells or what? Are those mortar shells? They're enormous.
I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here?
Those old things. A couple of little rounds I accidentally fired to the barracks during training, you know. Gave a bit of a colorful real regiment folklore, that incident.
You mean you deliberately hunted out spent shells?
Well, I wouldn't say deliberately, exactly. They're only scrap iron, after all. Usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know what things might come in useful, you know?
Useful for what, exactly?
Yes, well,
John here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting.
Oh no.
Hadn't shed a tear since 1869 before then, you know.
Maybe reconsider throwing them away? Consider doing that. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing in here?
Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica.
That old thing? That's a little more than a toy.
Sorry?
The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house.
Really? It isn't overkill?
Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think that there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garrett?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrels, you see. They dry very well in the can there, Joan tells me, which proves my point, I feel.
It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge can looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Books. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garrett. Do you enjoy reading?
Ever experienced a London mirror, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of a fire with a jolly good book.
Oh, there's a copy of Rance magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garrett enjoys the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, too.
The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. What about over here? What? Is the shelf okay? Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it wonderful? Although the shelves seem to be broken and the crockery is... oh dear, it's in pieces. Really...
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
Ah, I wonder. Perhaps a cannon was fired at it.
Yes, probably something like that. Let's not delve too deeply here. Probably, but let's not get into that.
Oh look! What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand.
Lined up. Looks more like someone has half demolished them to me.
Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It's quite the English way. It is Mr. Garrett's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea.
That sounds delightful.
Oh, wait a minute though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand.
Oh, naturally, and it would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Garrett doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up.
How magnanimous of you.
This old candle holder looks a little out of place, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason.
That old thing, yes, just a cheap piece of ironmongery. Give him crack, really.
Oh,
Use it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to, really, but, well, it still has its uses sometimes.
I have noted. Oh, hold on.
Of course.
Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it?
They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories.
I am noticing that one of the candles is gone and it seems to be on the floor, and I don't know why. Window.
This window looks out over Briar Road, where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yeah, I can make out the policeman on this far side of the road investigating the crime scene.
This glass is rather murky, isn't it? Can't see very clearly.
Does this thing open at all, I wonder?
I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir.
Sorry?
As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
It seems very unlikely that these two would have seen anything in the incident, then. Alright, let's see what you guys have to say, then.
Good day to you. John Garrett, at your service.
Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer.
Do excuse me not getting up.
Took a shot in the knee a few years back at the Battle of Maiwan, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Hand over the reins to the up-and-coming.
So he's a retired soldier.
It's a hell of a job getting up and down the stairs now, I can tell you. Don't get out much, as you can imagine.
Yes, it's quite a climb up here from the second floor, isn't it? I was panning on the stairs at the top of the stairs.
You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ugh, do you think so?
Oh, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal.
Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a full derroll, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! That's it, old woman, be careful!
Oh, dear me. I do beg your pardon, sir.
You shouldn't have took off the skin off my hand.
I should be more careful, sir.
So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now.
Yes, I see.
Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right?
Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only too pleased, naturally. Especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it?
We even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Holak Shums.
Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Rand's magazine here, so...
No.
Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak.
So he's in Soseki-san's room.
It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss, it's jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsumi then, Mr. Garadeb. Please do tell us.
Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week.
Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then.
Have 2 lodges most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just about below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see. There's been... Ah! That's it, old Chong! Do be careful!
Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him.
Oh? Why?
He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written all over his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything.
We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure.
Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all?
Oh, yes. Yes, there was indeed.
And she's dying to tell us. What about the incident? It seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time?
The window?
Yes, the window.
Yes, we noticed that there's a window over there that looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadeb household. No, I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as...
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well...
Yes? Was there something then?
Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time here, there...
For the love of God, Joe, what's what you're doing?
Oh, dear me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
You may be more careful, woman.
Of course, sir. If I may, Miss Hollow,
Oh, yeah?
I have an exceedingly good memory as far as I remember. Nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really? Mr. Garrett? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of...
Joe, does it all? What is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Jean?
That's right. That's right, Mr. Garrett.
You two are hiding. What is the matter with these two? They're definitely hiding something.
Sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what?
I wish I knew. Had you noticed anything else about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchid.
Could you elaborate?
Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else is in the house has gone to bed too.
Oh, I see.
The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah.
Could you clarify something, I wonder?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine?
Oh,
I'd understand that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes, they're both below us, on the first floor of the street level.
Then, how is it that you knew so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Good grief, Joe! Be more careful, woman!
oh my goodness, sir, I'm terribly sorry, sir.
You're just gonna burn his leg off at this rate. Something doesn't add up here. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on?
Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
Mr. Sholmes investigating there even as we speak.
Yes, told me not his name. Had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services?
That's a blatant lie.
What?
Would it be alright if we had a look around in Mr. Natsume's room, I mean?
Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs.
Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Hold on, checking something real quick. Alright, sorry. Checking something.
Yes, and while we're there, we can speak to Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
Alrighty. New location, Mr. Natsume's room. There's a little kitty! Mr. Natsume's room. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither. It's so dark in here too.
Is that the window over there?
Is bricks. Well, it was the window, yeah, I think, yes, once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives.
By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you?
No, that's true. But according to what Mr. Garrett told us, the Great Detective should be around here somewhere investigating.
Little kitty cat. Meow.
Bye.
Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away.
I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Mickey, was it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
That made me feel homesick now.
Already, we've only been in the country for 2 days. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side.
I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded by on all sides by towering old tomes, surely he dreams of books every night as well.
Yes, he must have done, wasn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Oh yeah, Mr. Natsume's name's on it. Look. And the day of the purchase, with 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident.
That's a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books.
Interesting. A receipt discovered in Mr. Natsume's room for some books that he had purchased from the second-hand bookshop before the incident occurred. Let me take a closer look at that. Customer, Mr. Natsume. Sum of 2 shillings tendered in receipt of the picture of Monsieur Le Coy or something? A meal for Gabora or some Canterbury yearnings. I can't read. Alright. Books. Look at all these books stacked up here. They almost reached the ceiling.
They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
With this volume of books, Dan, you'd never be short of reading material, would you?
No, what a dreamy idea.
A bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine that book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again.
So reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. How do we get here again? There's something back here. This appears to be some sort of meter on the wall here. Looks very robust. I wonder what it's for. There's a slot for inserting coins here, too.
I believe this is a gas meter, Mr. Arho.
A gas meter?
Yes, it seems there is piped gas in this district, which consumers pay for by putting coins in the meter.
So if we were to put a coin in the slot...
that would be enough gas to use the lights in the gas fire for a whole night.
So if you're too poor to have a coin, you'd have to spend the night in the dark and freezing cold.
That's right, as it would be at a rich man who only carried crisp white notes.
Ugh. London is a scary place. Brick. Can you even call this a window?
I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now.
Brick. So it really is just a wall then. But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that?
I'm afraid I have no idea. Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on in a fit of whimsy.
Ugh, that's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive.
It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying.
crumpled up papers. Look at all these balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over them in English. It looks like the waste paper basket is so full they've just fallen out.
I think that Mr. Natsumi must have been deeply immersed in his research, don't you?
Or deeply averse to tidying up his mess.
I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to truth.
Lucky cat.
Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home.
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsumi didn't bring that Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him.
I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruto. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage?
Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I want a lucky charm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsumi wanted the same. And this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
It's not doing a very good job so far, is it?
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? Alright, that's Oh, hi there. Have you been here this entire time, Sholmes?
Ah, look, Mr. Naruto.
He's reading. Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from?
He seemed to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, you do. Good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burya.
Ah, yes, of course, the Burya. And let me see. What happened on that voyage?
It was Kazuma Sogi. He died, tragically. But you were a great help to us.
Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Sogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh.
Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least.
What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, my dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Mr. Naruhodo and Mr. Susato.
Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes.
I lost the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite that day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to the crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes.
So you apprehended Soseki-san in that short of amount of time?
I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my collection of my past involvements a little.
A little?
It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable art and wisdom, you know, from an adventure titled A Study in Scarlet.
Please, there's no need to quote yourself.
I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate appends them beautifully.
He means Iris, I suppose.
Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression.
My dear madam, I should be only too pleased.
Yes, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss this murky case.
Look at this!
Mr. Naruto, please, despite my aspiration to go, I'm professional. And that trinket, £3.
A sinful sum. Rapturous, you have a lot of dialogue for giving the wrong item. Anything? Have you seen this, Mr. Sholmes?
Shh, I must have silence. This is of the first importance when I'm in the throes of deduction that nothing irrelevant distracts me.
Oh, sorry.
Cloudy changing to fair, perhaps.
You're in the throes of deducing the weather?
Ah, the receipt for the books our stooped Japanese friend purchased. I uncovered that yesterday morning. A marvelous find, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yes. The work of a truly great detective.
What a scatterbrained individual must be to have left it behind. Curiously, there was no mention of this publication on the receipt. Odd, when you consider how fascinating it is.
You mean not everyone in London buys Rance magazine every time they visit a shop? Yes, odd indeed.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, how expertly you slipped that into the conversation.
Buy my book. Did Sholmes literally just do an ad in the middle of a conversation? Goodness great.
Ah, I'm glad you agree. Detective stories can be great works of literature too, my dear fellow.
Buy my book. Mr. Natsume's arrest. We know this used to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside on Briar Road.
Natsume? Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines.
Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What? I can't believe he was looking Susanoo squarely in the eyes while feigning ignorance.
I assure you, I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as though the pair of you are under some misapprehension.
Oh? How?
I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your astute compatriot of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request to me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man fleeing from the crime scene.
Ah, a man seen fleeing.
There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there's a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here.
So you got a man arrested simply because you didn't know any better. Yeah, that sounds like you, because you did the same thing in the second case with us. No, whatever.
However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliography. Do not be deceived into believing that I'm a man of leisure. No, no, no.
Oh dear.
Mr. Garadeb.
Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings?
Yes, Mr. Garadeb. A retired military man.
It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution that has the services.
And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution as service.
I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid.
Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer.
And so, conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to be to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein.
Betoken their social standing? Sorry?
Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, though, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower class, being able to afford just one maid is the first importance.
This is Sherlock Holmes.
I had no idea. And it is precisely for that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, in a retired army veteran, Mr. John Garadeb.
Oh?
Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am as of yet unable to ascertain.
I am thoroughly lost on what he means to say. What about the dingy room?
This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later.
Mr. Natsumi has stabbed no one.
Ah, but sooner or later, I said.
I don't believe that's the issue here.
About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea?
No window?
Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there's a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax. Window tax? What is that?
Surely, not a tax on windows.
Precisely that.
Oh my goodness!
Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of the windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home perhaps, rapidly closed windows up. While the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere. In an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money.
How awful. And unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light.
Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's step-in for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price.
Because the room is so awful, I should think.
Apparently Mr. Natsume only moved in here about a week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here. A matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remembered that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? Oh, you fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled from the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room. And there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us.
I cannot say with any certainty whether or not this is of relevance to the case, but I am quite certain that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Gerdeb is? Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case.
Mr. Naruhodo, as yet, our investigation has uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence.
No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Gerdeb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo.
busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Well, let's see if we can't pry open that secret of theirs.
Ah, you here again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forgot his name, still hard at work down there?
Mr. Herlock Sholmes?
Ah, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid.
Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there.
Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please, John. Now then, why don't you tell me what...
For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what your ballywar's doing?
I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir.
Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave if you'd be so kind.
Oh yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all of your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourself. It's been a pleasure.
May just doesn't like Gyarados. Feels like that, considering this is like the 10th time that she's burned his leg.
Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out.
According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Gyarados is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. I see it. I see you out of the corner of my eye. Sholmes. Why are you doing this? What's he doing over there?
Mr. Sholmes!
Ah, we meet again, my dear fellows. Goodness gracious, when did you sneak in here?
Herlock Sholmes, sir. At your service.
Whatever you were doing by the window.
I'm given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madam. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here.
Well,
keeping an eye out one's windows at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, just one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me.
I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind.
Wait, he's not talking about... Is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon.
Do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
There's a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, let me go ahead and give a save then. I think so. There's just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let's conclude before the matter before dark. Mr. Gyarados, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. Sholmes is high on something that FTA will disapprove in 1920. That would not surprise me. I'm afraid, sir, that is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements.
I beg your pardon.
The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you.
Mr. Naruhodo, look!
The old man's broken out into a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on.
How could you possibly...
How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be more simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts.
And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1 is the nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on a rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrett, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by the lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts.
What is this painful, I ask you?
And yet, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried keeping in this very house. Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much evidence. Well, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this ancient Greek creature could have disappeared to, madam?
Me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrett. At Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tent. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe.
I most certainly did not.
I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. So the first conclusion is a rampaging Asiatic lion. Alright, what's the second thing, Chums? The aftermath. Now, Mr. Garrett, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for the formidable beast. Indeed, in that blind pose, the distress that this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. That strain of losing something so dear to you clearly visible in your visage.
Nonsense, man. I simply...
But what, we must now ask ourselves, is the true cause of this pain? And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills which has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on your financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go.
Yes, well,
Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only to look at the Tower of Cakes. There is no creature more damaging on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tired of the taste of the cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There's only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Why am I fixated in India? Carpet gnawed on by a starving lion. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle.
What is the matter with you, Sean? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me!
I don't even think a lion would try to eat cake. Carpet is more likely. To be fair, yeah, I can see it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garridem. I'm afraid I didn't notice.
My deductions cannot be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times too.
Oh,
Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but can I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruto. What is it again? Well, your deduction just now. Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room this size? Indeed, is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth is all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well?
But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garridem and his maid would have been hurt, or worse.
Oh, that's where you're stuck. No doubt the former mid-today man held his own against the beast using that large cannon. I thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus.
And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I ever heard of a lion that drinks tea.
Ah, my dear Mr. Salto, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they infuse with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea.
Loves his theatrics, so campy or over-exaggerated. I love him too.
Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruto, it's your turn to shine again.
I had a feeling that was coming.
A slight massage. That's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it.
Excellent. I've been waiting for my trustworthy partner in deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruto. We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe. Let us start again. From the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes, logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Let's fix up the nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid.
Don't give lion tea, does need caffeine. It's not the ninth installment of it if you give a mouse a cookie. Oh lord.
Your furtive glance, Mr. Garridem, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion. I really didn't see the lion thing coming.
No, but if you observe Mr. Garridem's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok in this room.
Yeah, something with a very fierce nature.
But it couldn't have been a lion transport from India.
So what was then?
We must follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze. That will lead us to true answer.
Ah, what's this back here? What's this photograph?
It appears to be Mr. Garrideb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he?
He does, but can't make out his bride.
Oh, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face.
I wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there. Is it this?
Take that!
The newlywed bride. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruto. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this frame print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrideb. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscure, we can still make out her mighty arms, and note that they are note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late. The fact remains that the beast, which so clearly the savages threw, was your wife, Mr. Garrideb. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well... Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's where...
The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself.
Well, I don't know about fragile.
Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Shulman is quite right. There's no saying Mrs. Garrideb anywhere.
It seems that there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. I wonder what Mr. Garrideb's wife could be. Anything? Oh! Wedding ring! She's wearing a very large ring. Look.
Oh yes, the sunflower sign, with some rather nice embellishments. It's on the ring of her left hand, which means it's surely a wedding ring.
Looks like it's on there for life, too. Can't imagine it would slide off a finger of that size.
That's something to think of, Mr. Naruto. Not to say. Do you know, Mr. Garrideb's wife in the photograph had a ring very much like this one. It was a large sunflower sign as well.
Really? You have great memory for these things. A large sunflower wedding ring. It's quite a coincidence that they have the same ring, isn't it?
Take that!
The wedding ring. Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Indeed it does! The flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. Sun ring's adorable. Yes, I like it. For it's identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garrideb's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garrideb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garrideb herself. Oh my word!
Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmised, this is the wife, yes. Better let herself go, you might say, but she was a bally corker that...
It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you're a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct?
It's not right, I tell you. I was 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it is a sorry thing, but a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ.
Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are folly. You mean Mr. Garrett has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garrett?
Only in company, obviously, but listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please.
The real conclusion? The raging wife of Mr. Garrideb. Now, let's fix up the aftermath. Now, Mr. Garrideb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress that this loss has caused you is very tangible. Go ahead, wife must love him to go along with this. Yeah, Mr. Jones is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garrideb's wife a beast.
Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable.
But Mrs. Garrideb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he?
Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm seems to be propping up his head. It has some other significance then.
According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify? I wonder. Yep, slap cheek. I noticed it briefly when he, turned his head. Oh my! Look at that bright red mark!
Gosh, that's quite something. Clearly made by somebody's hand.
Yeah, Mr. Garrideb must have been slapped on the face. It seems hard.
I've never seen such a clearly defined mark. Whoever could have done such a thing?
Well, there's a very limited number of candidates, I'd say.
Take that!
Slapped cheek. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garrideb?
Well, yes.
You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Confirmed to be beastly like a vulture fighting. I mean, I think anyone becomes like that when you get hungry. But, oh well, speaking of hungry, now I'm hungry. I don't know.
How in the blazes? How did you work that out, man?
Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us, even once. To keep your other side from view.
Well,
Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? Going Snickers in. I actually do have a Snickers bar downstairs. Maybe I will. In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is the pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you
Didn't Mr. Sholmes say that the bills were all for lion fodder?
Yeah, but now we've established that the lion never existed. Which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garrideb's wife. No!
Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing.
Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact.
Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder?
I'd love to know the answer to that question. There's also this book here. What's this? Bookmark.
Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here. Look. Mr. Garrett is clearly an avid reader.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark.
Oh no, so it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary.
And look next to the signature here.
Lip marks, made with lipstick. What a passionate and romantic gesture.
Don't get any ideas, son.
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
So this bookmark is actually a love note then. Change to a love note. Well, I think I might have an idea.
Take that!
Yes, it is this love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passion indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment.
But I don't know the bloody woman!
You don't know her.
That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there.
It was just in there, you say?
That's right. That's what I was. Ah!
A likely story. Her name Mary? No, the maid's name is Joan.
Now listen here, Joe. Old thing. I explained it at the time. I put the book at the second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there.
So, the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean?
That's right. That's what I was. Ah!
A likely story.
For heaven's sakes, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you've forgotten, is John.
A likely story.
Are you questioning my name now? Ah.
And there we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart in you and unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable. The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by the observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused this destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it's you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only to look at the Tower of Ki... But surely Mrs. Garrett didn't eat the carpet. No, of course not. There doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray this room is in is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true. So this is the last part of Mr. Shum's seduction that we need to fix. We need only to follow Mrs. Garrett's gaze, and that will lead us to the real answer. Alright, let's see what we can see.
Yes.
The carpet here has been ripped to shreds.
Yes, and according to Mr. Shum's deduction, the tears match up with those made by an Indian lion's teeth, exactly.
Oh, look here.
What is it?
If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks.
Oh yes, so you can. In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all.
Let's rethink this with that in mind.
This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it?
The base looks too small. Surely it's very stable. Unstable. Looks to me that even the slightest knock would make it topple over.
Oh dear, that would be dangerous.
Wait, take a closer look at this. There's only one candle missing.
Yes, I didn't notice that before.
Why is that, I wonder? Why is one of the candles of the three missing from its holder?
Take that!
The candlestick. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only to look at the candlestick.
Most illuminating, my dear fellow. And of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth.
Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible.
Indeed they are.
The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away.
Scorch marks?
It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garrett's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of a strike caused a candle to fall from a holder. In seconds, the carpet was alight and the whole corner of the room in flames.
Yes,
For the most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there's but one conclusion here. After the sparks of discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire.
Mr. Sholmes, sir. I salute you!
The true conclusion, carpet scorched by a small fire. Deduction complete. Elementary.
It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. But buy all my old novels there.
And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material.
For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems.
Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt
Here we go again. And the carpet? Was that destroyed by the fire when a candle fell on the floor?
Afraid to say so. What happened in the blink of an eye, you know? The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames.
You painted a horrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you.
Didn't take long for the virus to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being.
Over here, Mr. Garadeb?
Well, you have nothing to hide.
Well, you have nothing to hide now, if you allow me. Oh yeah, whole thing's up. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Had my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke.
Gosh.
And the wife started hurling things at me.
What a terrible sight it must have been.
There I was, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, but called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride? Ah yes, your notorious love for big cats coming through again.
I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest.
So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage.
Mr. Shum's deductions turned out to be correct once again.
It can only be described as a great British wonder.
I tell you, it was a total carnage. Flames everywhere, and the old stick in a full fettle.
Oh, of interest. What time of day was that?
Not sure if I can remember. It was 2 days ago now, let's see. Around 5 o'clock, I think.
The same time as the murder. Or the attempted murder, I guess is what it's going to be at this point.
So exactly the same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below.
Even more terrifying on the inside, I assure you. The whole Blighty could have been flying outside my window at that moment, and I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing.
Oh, really?
Schlep. Mr. Soames? Yes, Mr. Naruto? What can I do you for? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garrett's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the army man to be hiding something, I cannot be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not.
I just knew you were gonna say that!
Now, Mr. Naruto, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into only one of two categories, those relevant to the case and those that are not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of fair great importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already?
If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to.
So that's it. No more time to think.
Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garrett.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you both very much for your time.
Soseki-san will be waiting for us, and I'm going to have to give him an answer. Alrighty. Is it court time? Not that. Prison! This isn't prison.
It's time, Mr. Naruto. We must hurry back to the prison.
Yeah, no. Let's hell care. Oh.
What's the matter?
Looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garret's house.
I know the altered man. Fall to thy prayers.
Hey, call it old man. You round looking diminy.
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, that and are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Who does Horatio about, huh? What are you on about?
Excuse me.
Eh? What, who are you now?
I'm sorry. It just looked as though there might be some problem here. My associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruto, is a lawyer, you see.
Eh? Lawyer? What?
If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I have studied English law.
Fine, I'll be on my way for today. You mark my words. This ain't over yet.
Get thee to a nunnery.
I look like a bloomin' nun to you.
Okay. Got a yellow bomb course on. I have no idea.
I hope you're not injured.
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you.
What was all that about?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, that are dreamt of in your philosophy.
I'm not Horatio either.
Forgive the inquiry, sir, but... Are you a lodger here, in the Garrett's residence?
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode.
Mr. Garrett mentioned that he had another ledger, didn't he? This must be the man. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor?
Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy opponent in my battle of words ne'er could there be.
Sorry? Battle, did you say?
Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night.
I see.
I don't fully understand, but it seems like Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances, at least.
It's a nobleman? I mean, kinda looks that way.
So, fair maiden, so good gentlemen, I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well.
Bye?
I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room.
Seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. Mr. Seki-san and that man as lodgers. The carriage household is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find carriage.
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly waiting our return.
Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Hello. Hi.
Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched.
We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume.
Oh no, think nothing of it. Oh, relax. If I were kind, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nipponese.
Oh wow. Oh now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There's nothing more reassuring than familiar of one's native land. But I have a heart attack. On the other hand, it is through friendship transcending international borders that one can truly appreciate the facts. Such is my belief, at least. Also, my belief is that the internet just slightly died for a second. What the heck just happened? Okay, that was weird.
Oh, it's you. The miserable rotten spy, Hairlock Sholmes.
Nipponese is how natives for Japan? I think? Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. I'd have to look it up, but I think that's right. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything per se. Safe observing, of course.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring.
Gloomful room?
At least your accommodation offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Okay, Sholmes. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and cost me not a penny.
You! How dare you, Hairlock Sholmes! I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned.
What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto?
He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there's much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Well, hello there. Cursed trial. Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you just said, Ed? About tomorrow's trial being cursed?
Oh no, why? Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. That's really agitated him.
You don't mean the trial really is cursed tomorrow, somehow?
So how sprites are so casually done without everything. Yeah. Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize this succinctly in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution ever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright. Thanks, Naruhodo.
Oh my goodness, can it really be true? It was 16 words exactly.
Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances.
Mr. McGill did.
What?
Ah, I'm impressed, Mr. Sato. You have an eye for detail.
Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that, having failed to have the accused convict, Lord Van Zeeks killed the man himself?
No, he couldn't have, surely.
You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow.
Oh, yes. Why, of course he is.
Of course he is. What are you trying to scare me?
It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. Sholmes? What on earth do you mean by that? Well, accursed lodgings. When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Gyarados' house, I assume? Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed?
It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I'd only been in London a week before I started to know strange feelings in myself.
That didn't take long, then.
Everywhere I looked, there was foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I was starting to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn till dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. Fear wouldn't go away.
You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time.
I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now.
Yeah, why did you choose there? Seems a little inconvenient.
The rent is cheap. I have so little money it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late. So I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it in the first place."
Yes, well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean, the room really is cursed then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe me? Really? No one at all?
To believe. Yeah, to believe. The Reaper. Van Zeeks is quite an exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate winning every case without exception.
That's good.
So Seki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. Criminals, and corrupt lawyers for that matter, can use it to their advantage. For me and my ancestor shows fake clan members.
By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhand means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury. Which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation. And that's alright? However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking.
Did they disappear? But how?
Ah, by all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled underneath a passing carriage, or they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever, or perhaps attacked by a highwayman.
Oh, no.
All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo.
I knew it. I'm dead, Dodo, done for, doomed.
To believe. Mr. Shums. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Burya, if you recall. The Burya... Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was a suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is why. Why did you believe me? I see. Yes. You mean... because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found by the victim in a locked room? Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I never recall believing in you, nor that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? I make up my own mind based on what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal is trust is an overused excuse in my opinion. Meaning? Whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It's a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right, Locum Steward, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
I didn't read that. Whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You're so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we are leaving, I believe. Already? Fitting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? Oh dear, there's never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume. If you'd like, then trial tomorrow.
I'd be happy to represent you.
I'm locum student, Mr. Naruto Squire.
As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial. What to believe in, the defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I've finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else. Trust my instincts.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Locum student, Mr. Naruto Squire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me, in my native tongue.
Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was in many ways made up from the outset. Like, has he actually been to law school? He, at this rate, he is, not, but he has studied all of English law, while he's tried studying as much of English law as he could while on the boat ride over to Great Britain. You really need the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got here in the end. Mr. Sato.
Yes?
Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court?
Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant.
The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind, but it's time to stop looking backwards. Cosmo believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Soseki-san has no one. He's all alone, so it's my job to help him, to fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. Probably go on to 4 or 5. So, let's begin a little bit of the trial. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon?
We are on study tour from Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true. But for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her or one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
Good morning! I need to move.
Good morning.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot.
The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain.
Yeah, I've heard that expression.
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now, I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Do all literary people take things so literally?
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume.
I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Hello. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo is quiet.
Yeah? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mrs. Sato?
I'm sorry, Mr. I hope. I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Mr. Sato?
I purchased many different newspapers I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it.
Sometime after a prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yeah, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Trial 2 days ago, after Lord Van Zeeks returned to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why the Reaper is back in the Bailey so soon from what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question on the papers are asking, and they're all suspecting various answers.
Mundane! Mundane is the most significant saga of the century to some of us.
Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it.
Well, lest we forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention, but there's another blatant similarity with the trial 2 days ago.
Yes, I agree.
Locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it was you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper!
Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers.
I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Hardo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? Am I the least lucky lawyer alive? Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with a little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student Mr. Naruto Esquire.
You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side.
Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Mr. Ikotobo Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, Council for Defense. Court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. Alright then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in the British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th of February. And there's a jury. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what?
Lord Stronghaw has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try and help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susawa-san.
After all, our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Why are you still allowed to drink in here?
Very true. And the most fascinating, if dark trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate violent end. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public?
Hey, wait a minute. You were here in the last trial. Whatever.
You never know when you might be down on your luck. But I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow.
Why are you here? I'll get signed if your lawyer is on alcohol during the proceedings.
Joan. Okay.
I'm afraid I say that it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it.
Eh? Sorry? Didn't quite catch that.
Very well, let's proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zieks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from the same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act.
What? Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. That's knife crime. I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that sallow complexion of short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Eh? Sorry. Didn't quite catch that.
Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Hey, Gregson. Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Vice Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard.
Would you please surmise the events of the case for the court inspector?
Number 2 is racist. Yeah, feels like a lot of people in this game are racist to Japanese.
The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green.
I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be?
Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her doctor's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
What? So they don't even know who she is for sure?
Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern students, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at the street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the morning. Afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long since it stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious yet, we are unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far.
Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Wait.
The case file. A file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital yet to regain consciousness. Why is the... Hold on. Why is this going... Alright, Wait, I guess I can save here, but that's not what I meant to do. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I was gonna check the court record, that thing. So, incident report. Details. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Victim olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Location pavement, Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer royally beat. Additional notes. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running by a reporting officer and successfully arrested the following day. Alright. What was the weapon that was used?
Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back.
Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose.
A common or garden jackknife, I would say, but the nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence.
Jackknife. A large but commonplace folding knife. It was found lodged in the victim's back.
Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money of eyeballs, I presume?
Allow me to examine. Pull out the blade. Let me see it. Oh. What the heck? It's missing the tip.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. Small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Mrs. Sato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Yeah. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I hope not. It sounds terribly painful.
Strange. Well, it doesn't look like there's anything else of note of it.
From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possession, seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth mentioning, my lord.
I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some sort of deep-seated resentment toward the victim?
I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting a second-hand bookshops, the vendor in Miss Natsumi didn't appear to go out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievous had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Matsumi have possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
What?
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery.
There's about to be a new murder, and it's about to be freaking Zeke killing someone with a bottle.
But your words have soured its hollow bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here.
What?
Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest a Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gifted with good wine.
Just hope it didn't hit anyone in the face or in the head.
As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought, he was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident.
Oh yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I'll take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. A photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. Three books. Stab with knife. Where's the blood? That's a great question. I do not know.
You Nipponese are a spineless breed. Too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it.
What are you doing, Mr. Soto?
You go on.
Mr. Natsumi has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking along that cursed pavement, I could make out the silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat, she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed to the cold, hot slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my... Okay, so I'm going. As fast as my legs would carry me back to my cursed lodgings.
A green overcoat.
Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing.
Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit that he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back.
There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there was nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes.
It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's my only chance. Mr. Natsumi's arrest. Let me save the game. Five o'clock.
Hold it!
Hold it! A light fog, you say?
Well, like for London, you can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though.
That's light, is it?
Around these parts, yes. Not something I expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course.
I've read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance.
A quaint, Yes, well, it's all something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate.
I see.
This time of the year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy.
Can't even see your face, yeah?
Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm.
Indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling.
Susawa-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen.
However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty?
Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witness is to this crime have told us.
Ah, yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That's correct, ma'am.
Then we must hear their testimony.
The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary.
But wait a minute! At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of a winter? It would have already been dark. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen...
I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights.
Ah,
The prosecution believes that there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime.
Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness.
which means we really need to hear those witnesses' statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to.
It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Alright. How about this one? From behind, you say?
That's right. As you see from his break.
Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle on the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less?
I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's been treated at Barrett's. I was hoping she'd come around before the trial starts so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be.
Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events.
Luck is on your client's side, it seems.
Huh? What? On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky.
Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly white eyes, I'm afraid.
Ugh.
No, there's one. Mr. Natsumi's belongings? I think you'll find it's all dead in that photograph of prig at the crime scene.
There's 3 books on the floor.
That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course.
The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand.
Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsumi had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
That must be what happened, my lord. Yes.
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, oh, I understand. A shop full of English literature.
I commend
the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked full to the ceiling with those musty old books. Musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the books, about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is the place here. A little place on the corner of Briar Street and Mersham Road. Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out what route he would have taken home.
Wait a minute. Bourbon. It wasn't. No, it wasn't from there. It was from Yor. Where the heck's Yor? Yeah.
Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think what the inspector told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yeah, I agree. The most important point the inspector made just being the bookshop's name. Bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor?
What?
Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance.
Maybe.
Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue.
Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say.
Could the man be any more sardonic? From Bourbon Books. No, he wasn't.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What is it, sunshine? I'm a basic man, you know.
This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued the day of the incident and details the purchase of the 3 second-hand books.
And you found that in the accused's room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it.
Go on.
This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your books. Y-O-R-E, I presume.
Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at the second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books.
What?
Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop?
Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop, not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, but what difference it makes? Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all,
I have a street map here, if that might be of help.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Let's have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would have almost certainly passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all.
Could that be true? Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare maybe possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Loiser? Is that what you just said? Absolutely. It could absolutely be right.
Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment?
Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here next to the corner of Massachusetts Street going east.
And there you have it. As you can clearly see now...
My lonely Beneath friend is obviously in training to become a clown, The way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I, didn't think you needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused were going home from your books instead of bourbon books. Crap, crap. There's no doubt he would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nibonese friend. You're not a clown, you are the whole circus. Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
I suspected you can't fool me, and don't suggest you try.
Well, I say, I've had enough of this.
Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. You must think. You must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
White gloves on. It claims the Seki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... I mean, technically speaking, he could have gone a different way, but it wouldn't really make sense. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a cloud is fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
Aha, yes, I got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. Today was no exception. He says he don't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? But even if that's the case, the defense I'm in danger.
I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Work wholeheartedly in every way.
What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
We members of the jury I'm completely convinced now.
Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
What?
It would appear that the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve the Queen and the country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No. Not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow.
Those are the eyes of the query, not yet willing to give up and die.
Now there.
So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. The rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that's been buried long ago.
Call antiquated if you will. But it's defense prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Of course we are ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his onkus refusal to throw in his alley.
Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
And I think that is going to be I'm going to go ahead and call that where it is. We'll continue the rest tomorrow. We'll continue it tomorrow or some other day. Hopefully tomorrow, but in case it doesn't happen tomorrow, I don't even know if anyone can hear me because I pulled my head away from that. But anyways, the point is, probably gonna do it hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, thank you for watching, and see ya.